Hello. Uh, Today we will discuss about the major housing program which we are running right now is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and with this the technology submission which government of India has adopted. Before we come to this discussion what we will have today, let us summarize or let us have a quick recap what we have discussed last day. Related to this technology, last day we showed you some example of the mass housing projects constructed by the industrialized building system or the prefabricated components, and we learned that even for India the housing projects by using prefabricated components is feasible and viable, and it can offer the time and cost efficiency than the other conventionally constructed projects. So today we will discuss the housing for all mission and technology submission. So Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a centrally announced program started with the aim of housing for all by the year 2022. So by the time the nation completes 75 years after the independence, every household will get a Pakka house. That is the aim and target for this program, and the Pakka house will consist the water connection, toilet facility, and 24/7 electric supply, and also the Pakka accessibility in terms of road for all house. That is the aim of this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So in 2015, last year, it was launched with the grand aim of the housing for all. In short, it is called HFA mission. So this mission covers basically more than 4,000 statutory town, municipal corporations and municipality. So it involves the in situ rehabilitation, which we call redevelopment of existing slum using land as an asset through private cooperation. So when we discussed land component earlier in this series of lectures, we saw that the redevelopment is one of the major concern which government of India is focusing, and this is the example where you can see that redevelopment is encouraged as a in situ rehabilitation. Earlier government tried or attempted many options by resettling the slum people outside the project, outside the area, little away from the city or outskirts of the city, but right now the whole objective is to in situ rehabilitation. Then the another very important part which was conceptualized is credit linked subsidy. So subsidy will be given which is linked with credit of or the housing finance taken by the people. That is another very important part. Affordable housing in partnership. This particular unit was there also during the JNNURM phase, Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal phase. It is the mechanism where the private sector and public sector, they come hand to hand, and they make the partnership and they deliver the housing project. So affordable housing in partnership is existing in this scheme also, and also subsidy for singular house development. Apart from that, any poor person which is making their own house, they will also get some subsidy out of the government fund. So the objective is, we told that the affordable homes with water connection, toilet facilities we have discussed. 2 crore houses to be built across a nation's length and breadth, and the main target population here is this lower income group and economically weaker section who are there in the cities and the towns, and also 2 million non-slum urban poor household who are proposed to be covered under the mission. So one part is the slum population which is basically covering economically weaker section LIG. Other than the slum, there are non-slum population which will be also covered under this mission. Now let us see the mission highlights. This we discussed already. Another thing, the beneficiary characteristics are the family comprising the husband, wife and unmarried children. They will be given the priority. Other than that, the target groups are Indian women of all religious and caste, everyone will be equally eligible, no biased treatment on the basis of the caste or religion will be there. So, people who come from the low income and the economical weaker sections of the society, including the ST and SC people, they will be given priority under this program. Now, this whole mission, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Housing for All mission, have 4 pillars or 4 major sub-component, namely the slum redevelopment, affordable housing through credit link subsidy, affordable housing in partnership, subsidy for the beneficiary led housing. In the first sub-component, basically I told you that the whole focus is to redevelop the slum as is where is, wherever they are in the same site, the same location, the slum can be redeveloped. So, in this redevelopment, they are using land as a resource. I talked about the land sharing model when we discussed the land as a reform, land as a policy unit. That time also we discussed that how land can be used. So, apart from the land sharing, they are giving FSI and FAR and TDR to the prospective developer to encourage the redevelopment in the slum projects or slum location. And not only that, they also are giving the rupees 1 lakh per house as a government contribution, so that the whole projects become viable. The second component, other than the slum, so first component is by and large is dependent, is made for the slum population. So second, so this is basically a kind of a supply side intervention. It is basically giving the houses to the people, delivering the houses to the people. The second component, which is housing, affordable housing through credit linked subsidy, is the demand side intervention, because it is helping the poor people, EWS and LIG, by giving the subsidy in the housing loans of 6.5% up to 6 lakh loan. So, if a poor person gets a house even from the slum redevelop project or from the market, they can get a interest subsidy of 6.5%. Few lectures back when we discussed the housing finance, that time also we discussed that interest subsidy is one very important element what Government of India brought in this current last few years. So, the second component is focused on that. The third component, which is basically affordable housing in partnership. In 90s, after the land became very scarcely for the housing projects which we discussed, the bigger land was not available. So, government wanted no private authority because of your Urban Land Ceiling Act. So, for that reason, the large parcel of the land was not available. So, only one mechanism was possible, that if government acquires the land, government provides the bigger land, and the private sector who is otherwise unable to acquire the bigger land from the market, they can come and they can invest their money, and both can make a partnership and deliver the housing. So, here the government can provide the land and private sector they can provide the money. So, land and finance, these are two very major important resource put together. That was the major essence of the joint venture or PPP projects in the housing sector, which was tried in 90s, and based on the learnings and its efficacy and tested models of the joint venture projects, the Government of India, they have adopted affordable housing in partnership during the JNNURM period, and now the current PMAY, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, has adopted that particular model with little modification. Now, under this model, the private sector or public sector including parastatal agencies will be given a central assistance 1.5 lakh per EWS house in projects where 30% houses for EWS category is reserved. And then apart from this, so this is basically a facilitating method, so that the market including the private sector are encouraged to create more number of housing, whereas the first two, it was the supply side intervention and it was the demand side intervention. So, this will also add to the supply side, it will generate more housing because the private sector is also participating. The second part, the subsidy for the beneficiary led housing, it is a demand side mechanism, because in this subsidy central assistance of 1.5 lakh per beneficiary, it will help people to have their house constructed by themselves in the cities or the towns. So, this is another subsidy component or the demand side intervention. So, based on this 4 pillars or 4 sub component, the whole Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is working right now. Every state governments are working to prepare their state plan and the city level plan to submit to the Government of India to get the funding under 4 component and to deliver more housing in near future. This we discussed. So, here you can see that the income criteria what they are discussing, the 3 lakh and 3 to 6 lakh for EWS and LIG correspondingly, and apart from that the we have discussed the expansion element of the rooms and kitchen, that is also mentioned. The manual scavengers, women, SC, ST, OBC, minority, then this type of people will be given priority for getting the house under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. There are 3 phases conceptualized, phase 15 to 17, 17 to 19 and 19 to 2022. Under this 3 phase, the whole program or mission will be completed, so that we can reach housing for all by 2022. This is a typical comparison of Indira Awas Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, how the cost sharing is compared. We have taken a case study example from the Tamil Nadu state, where we can see that the estimated cost of one house under the Indira Awas Yojana right now is 1,20,000, whereas for the urban area it is 1.7 lakh or 1,70,000, and the total amount including the service component or the infrastructure component coming, it is around 1.5 lakh, and for the urban areas it is coming around 2 lakh. So, it is not differing much, but roughly the unit cost of the Indira Awas Yojana is 3/4 of the unit cost is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Now, under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, they have conceptualized technology submission. In the last lecture, we discussed that the technology can be a driver to deliver more number of housing in a given shorter period of time with more cost efficiency and type efficiency, and we have showed the examples and we have discussed various typologies. Now, this time for the first time, Government of India understood this basic understanding is there, that technology can be a fantastic driver to deliver more housing. Before that also, the mention of the technology as a catalyst was there in the National Urban Housing and Habitat Policy, but right now the technology submission is conceptualized in a bigger way. It is envisaged to change the technology from a on-site construction to a off-site construction with green and innovative modes of technology, so that better quality of housing within the given period of time is achievable by the people. It is possible. Now, technology submission has 4 components which the Government of India has identified. The first component is the design or planning. They are very much concerned about the final product of a product as a housing, so that design and planning could be very much innovative with 100% effectiveness of the floor area, 100% effectiveness of the design of the openings in terms of light and ventilation and energy efficiency. So, they are involved in the design and planning. The second component involves the appropriate technology and materials. They have so far identified 8 technologies, and later on they have added another 8 technologies. So, 16 technologies and appropriate materials which are durable, green, which is eco-friendly, which they can use for the long term period. So, that is the second component under the technology submission. The third component is green building concept using natural resources. The building components which are used in the new technology should be green, involving very less amount of embodied energy, so that the component is eco-friendly, and also it takes very less amount of energy for running and maintaining the material. So, green element of the building design is involved here. So, the first component devotes the design or planning of the compasses, the layout and the building units as such. The second component involves the technological part, third component involves the basically the natural resource part, its performance part, and fourth component involves the earthquake and other disaster resistant technologies. It involves the resilience factor of a housing or a building. So, because building housing, we talked in the first lecture that housing is also ensuring the safety factor of the people or the inhabitant or the users. So, we cannot compromise in this matter, because last few decades we have seen that severe earthquakes, severe natural disasters happen in our country, and as a result major damage was there in the housing projects. So, we can bring new innovative technology and materials, but not compromising with the safety and security of the structure and the material. The Government of India, they are partnering with willing IITs, NITs and School of Planning and Architectures for developing the technologies and the materials, because as of now some of the materials are already developed, being experimented in a piecemeal approach. Some of the materials are not developed, some of the technologies are developed and executed, experimented. One such example we discussed last lecture. Some of the technologies are being developed by some research laboratories or the developer. So, they want to combine all these and they want to bring the technologies which are underdeveloped or not experimented. So, the IITs, NITs and the planning and architecture schools are coming up to experiment all this technology, to make the prototype demonstration houses, so that government after some time is able to take the technology options across the country, and they can use suitably the appropriate technology for appropriate target group for each states. That is the works going on right now. And then state and region specific needs for technologies and the design would also be supported under the submission. For example, the states like Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh or Sikkim or Arunachal Pradesh, these are the hill states. So, the hill states, they have a different geographical variation, topographical variation. The plain land and the other locations like say desert or the forest lands have different texture, different contours altogether. So, how different regions can generate different design need, different planning need, different technological options could be adopted. Those matching, those matrix are also being explored at the government level. So, at the next level, the private companies, private developers, the state government authorities, the housing boards or the development authorities are pulled together and told that okay, this is the matrix, this is the option. So, to choose your option and do the needful whatever is required. So, at the first stage they have identified 8 such technologies which are partially or fully experimented in India. For example, the monolithic concrete construction system using plastic aluminium formwork. This is one technology system, monolithic concrete construction system using aluminium formwork. Expanded polystyrene core panel system, this is under development. The industrialized 3S system using precast RCC columns, beams and cellular lightweight concrete system. The last day the example I showed for Mahada and the Shirke, they are using this 3S system. So, this is one of the system which is already tested in the ground. And then speed floor face system, which is a very fast system to construct every floor in a quicker time. Then GFRG panels, which is nothing but the glass fiber reinforced gypsum panel building system. This system basically is experimented for lower storied building in India, but there are organizations who are working for the higher stories, compact and the high rise building, so that this can be prescribed for some of the, at least some of the geographical location to deliver bigger housing projects. Then factory made fast track modular building system, this also under experimentation, some of the IITs are working on this. Light gauge steel frame structure LGSF system. So these are the 8 technologies. After that they have identified another technologies. One public sector undertaking, Hindustan Prefab Limited, they are working under the Ministry of Housing and Poverty Alleviation. They have made various demonstration houses. So somebody, if you are interested to see how it works, you can visit their factory, visit their campus to see their efficacy. Otherwise the examples I showed involving 3S system, that is also good example. Other than that also there are various companies in India who are working regionally or locally in every states or some of the cities at least. So based on your location, your time, your hometown, you can pick up the example and you can see or relate or connect with the example based on the technologies which we discussed under the technology submission. So to summarize, here in the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a centrally sponsored program or mission which is aiming housing for all by 2022, that is the 75 years after the independence. So this program is aiming housing for all, delivering more than 2 crore house for economically weaker section and lower income group people within 2022 in 3 phases up to 17, 19 and 2022. It has 4 components. The first component deals about the redeveloping the slums in the same site, rehabilitating them in the same site by for their livelihood and for their house, using the land as a resource, using the land sharing and other mechanism, so that the people do not have to be rehabilitated elsewhere. So that is the first component, and for this component government will provide some amount of money for each beneficiary group. Second component deals with the credit linked subsidy, which is nothing but the every poor people who wants to purchase house from the market or from the developer or from the redeveloped project, they can get a 6.5% interest subsidy if they take a housing loan from a bank up to 6 lakh rupees. So that is the second component. The third component deals with the affordable housing in partnership. Government will provide some amount of money for economically weaker section and lower income group if the private sector and the public sector come together, they develop the PPP projects or joint venture projects, and also the 35% of the total units are reserved for the economically weaker section. So that is the third component, which is basically supply side intervention. Because of this, government will be able to deliver more housing. The fourth component of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is the direct subsidy of the housing, which is developed by the owner itself, maybe the isolated building, isolated housing. So in that case, where owner takes up the construction of their own house in their site, government will provide some subsidy of 1 lakh or so. So it is under this 4 component, government is providing the support to the directly to the beneficiary through the state government and the municipal corporation to achieve the more housing. One subset of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a technology submission. The main essence of the technology submission is to bring in our country the new innovative technology, green technology, which will reduce the time of the construction substantially, which will reduce the cost because of the time and which will deliver more affordable house in a quicker possible time. So the technology submission is framed under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. The organization like BMTPC and HUDCO, they are the key the nodal agency who are coordinating the progress of the technology submission. Under the technology submission, it has 4 component: design and planning, the green building and the resource, the safety against the natural disasters, and the material component. So apart from that, they have identified 8 new technologies which is has potential to deliver the green technology and the faster technology to deliver more housing. Out of 8 technologies which we discussed, few technologies are already developed and experimented, few technologies are being experimented, and in near future, because these technologies are being experimented through IITs, NITs and all the research labs in the country. So after some time government will be able to experiment all this technologies to deliver more housing. And another point we mentioned that the state and region specific solution for the design and the technology and the housing projects as such is being explored under the technology submission. So within a few couple of years we will be able to see that apart from the mainstream benefit of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we will see lot of housing projects using the new technologies which will be delivering the housing in a quicker possible time in all the major cities. So with this note we conclude the discussion on the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and the government program, current government program and technology submission. The next day will some of the discussion on the part 1, which is the policy element. Last few lectures, like 10 to 12 lectures, we discussed various policy element like land, finance, technology, and legal and institutional setup. So next day we will summarize the discussion and we will start the introduction to the planning part, so that the few lectures we can take on the planning of the housing for a city. So thank you.